Okay, good evening, everyone. We're going to begin by calling to order the Housing Authority. City Clerk, can we get a roll call, please?
Commissioners Perez. Here. Ramirez.
Here.
Valencia.
Here.
Hernandez.
Here.
Vice Chair Ayala.
Here.
And Chair Rios.
Here. For the consent calendar, are there any speaker cards?
No. Move it.
Okay. Okay, there was 2 items for consideration, moved by Councilmember Perez, seconded by Councilmember Ramirez. Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Commissioners Perez. Aye. Ramirez.
Aye.
Valencia.
Aye.
Hernandez.
I abstain. Item number 68333.
Thank you. Is there a community?
Sorry. Vice Chair Ayala.
Aye.
And Chair Rios.
Aye. Is there a Community Development Director's report?
No report this evening. Thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone wishing to speak under oral communications? Okay. All right, I will then adjourn this portion of our meeting this evening, the Norwalk Housing Authority, and we will continue with our regularly scheduled City Council meeting. Okay, at this time, the regular meeting of the Norwalk City Council is called to order. And this evening, we have the honor of having Dr. George Bojorquez to lead us in the invocation. If you could please come up to the podium as I introduce you. Dr. Bojorquez holds a special place in the community's heart as the lead pastor from New Creation Church in the city of Norwalk. With his dedicated service of over 25 years, he is not just an integral part of the city, but also a resident for 30 years. His focus aligns with his own church motto of reaching, teaching, and growing people. Dr. Bojorquez's passion extends to his goal in mentoring the next generation and nurturing their strong discipleship skills. On his spare time, he enjoys watching all the sports, including college football, and his beloved Lakers and Dodgers. Thank you for coming today and joining us, Dr. Bojorquez. We appreciate your commitment and dedication to our community. And after the invocation, I will present you with a certificate of recognition, and we will take some photos with the council. So whenever you are ready to lead us, Dr. Bojorquez.
Well, thank you very much for the invitation. It's an honor to be here with our city officials. So we're going to just quote a scripture in Joshua 1:8 says that he will make a way prosperous and give us good success. And that's what we're going to pray today, that this year of 2024, that God will grant us success. You know, we all want to win. And I believe this city is a winning city, not only as a church pastor, but also as a resident. So we're going to pray God's blessings upon today and throughout the whole year. Amen. Let's bow our heads. We thank you, Lord, for today. We know that this is the day that you have made, and we're going to rejoice and be glad in it. Lord, we pray, Father, for this wonderful city, for this brand new year of 2024 to be a successful year, a prosperous year, God, a victorious year. Father, we just pray your covering upon our residents, God, upon our leadership, our mayor and our council. God, Lord, that everything they plan, God, will be successful. We pray for success and for you to make our way prosperous. God, let us look back at 2024 and see great accomplishments, God, great victories, God, that everything that's being planted, that it will succeed. Father, we look to you for guidance, for direction, and for your grace. Father, we pray grace upon our city, your goodness over us, God. Keep our city safe, our residents safe, God, and we just look to you for strength and guidance. We ask this in the mighty name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. join me over here. Dr. Borges, I want to thank you for your prayer for the city of Norwalk and for your faith in our community. So thank you.
Ready, here we go. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3.
Let's take some more pictures, please. Ready? 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Colleagues, would you like to join me for a photo?
Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. One more photo. 1, 2, 3. And one more shot. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Are there any members here that you'd like to have join us for the photo?
Well, we do have a group, and you guys want to come and join us? Come on.
Yes, please do. Parishioners. This is like the fourth one.
Well, thank you.
Yep, okay, everybody. Ready, here we go. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3.
Let's do another one. Ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. One more friend. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Thank you so much. You're very welcome. That's what I thank you for joining us. You look great. Okay, next, we will have our guest who is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and that's Young Marine Lance Corporal Goodwin. Would you come up to the podium, please, while I introduce you? Thank you. Corporal Goodwin is a dedicated member of the Young Marines program and attends Jersey Elementary School in the 5th grade. Young Marine Lance Corporal Goodwin actively joins our city events such as Arturo Sanchez Senior Parade, Halloween Festival, and Christmas tree lighting ceremony. He's done so for the past 2 years. Recently, he volunteered at the Lions Club Pancake Breakfast at our Norwalk Arts and Sports Complex. His favorite part of Norwalk includes the lively events we have available for kids, and he's proud that we are the home city of his own local Young Marines unit. In his spare time, he enjoys hiking, camping, and playing soccer. While he dreams of becoming a police officer one day, wonderful, he enjoys being a kid right now. Thank you for being here, Young Marine Lance Corporal Goodwin. After the flag salute, I'll present you with a certificate of recognition and a medal for your participation this evening. And whenever you are ready, you got the podium.
Place your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for your
Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. We have one more. Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Join us. We'll do a quick picture of you two. Ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Okay, there we go. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
No, it's not.
No, come down.
Yeah.
Come on, tell him, you know.
Come on, crew. You have the other members, right? Come on,
If you'd
members.
like to be in the picture, you're more than welcome.
You too, sir. You're part of it. Hey, guys. There we go. 1, 2, 3. 1, 1, 1, 2, 3.
Still everyone? Ready? 1, 2, 3. One more crew. 1, 2. There you go. Hold still. Stay back. Okay. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Congrats.
Before I continue, I just want to share a little tidbit of information. We're able to help host the Young Marines here in the city of Norwalk. And I know recently they shared that their participation rates have not only increased, but they've increased with Norwalk youth joining the Young Marines unit. So congratulations and thank you for all that you do with our youth. Okay, Teresa, can we get a roll call, please?
Councilmembers Perez. Here. Ramirez.
Here.
Valencia.
Here.
Vice Mayor Ayala.
Here.
Mayor Rios.
Here. Closed session report?
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. The record should reflect that the City Council recessed into closed session for the discussion of the two items that are listed on the agenda. That prior to recessing into closed session, those two items were announced for inclusion in the discussion of closed session. And the following is my report. Both of the items were presented to the City Council for consideration, with the following members being present: Mayor Rios and Council members Perez and Ramirez being present in closed session room, and Vice Mayor Ayala participating via video conferencing as listed on the agenda. Those two items were heard by the City Council. There was no action that was taken that is required to be reported by the Brown Act this evening, and therefore that is my closed session report.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll continue with our city council comments, and I'd like to begin this evening with Councilmember Ayala, who is joining us via Zoom this evening.
No, I don't have any comments tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Councilmember Perez.
Thank you, Mayor. The only comment I have is, again, thank you to our staff and our team for keeping us safe during this wet weather. I can only imagine how beautiful our grass and our trees are going to look as the clouds part. And to our residents, please be safe when driving. I understand there's another storm coming out that should be hitting sometime this evening. So please be safe, check on your neighbors, and let us know. You're our eyes and ears in the city. So if there's anything that we can do, please let us know. That's all, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Ramirez?
Just a few comments. I'd just like to welcome everyone here this evening. I'd like to thank our staff for all your hard work and dedication during these storms that are happening. You guys are being well prepared and informing our community via Nixle, as well as telephone calls. Our public safety is on the alert. They're always out and about. There was a few accidents this morning. I think they handled them pretty well off of Pioneer and Mapledale. So, you know, they're keeping our neighborhoods and our communities safe by being out there vigilant and looking for problems before they happen. So just be prepared. Like Jennifer had mentioned, storms are coming. Check around your property. I know there's a lot of water damage with leaking roofs, flooding. So just be aware, inspect your property. I think there's a post on our social media that instructs our residents to, after storms, you know, walk around your property, check for any damage or any hazards. With that, that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Valencia?
Well, I'm going to add what Councilmember Ramirez didn't say, and that's that our Norwalk Lions Club breakfast was a huge success. Thank you, Mayor, for attending. Thank you all who supported and who were there. It really makes a difference because it's basically giving back to the city. All services, and of course, eyeglasses, hearing aids is what we really try to do for our youth and for some seniors. It was a great event, lots of folks there, and just everybody had a great time and ate a lot of pancakes and a lot of sausage and bacon and eggs, and had a great time. We did sell out. We had to go make some of our colleagues on the in the Norwalk Lions Club had to go out and buy some more juice and a few more things, more supplies, but it was wonderful. We had a great time. And the Norwalk High School choir did a great job. They performed there for us. They were amazing. And we were able to fundraise. So if you do have a little bit of change left, they are fundraising to go to New York to compete. And we were able to raise there with Dr. Olea, the Norwalk High School principal. I think it was $1,300 for them to go, just a little bit. Every little bit helps. So if you can help, please do so. And it's through Dr. David Olea, the Norwalk High School principal. I'd also like to say that on Wednesday, February 7th, the Door of Hope had their fundraiser at Mountain Mike's Pizza, and that was a really nice event. And I'd like to give a special thank you to our very own city attorney, Arnold Glassman, for attending and for being part of that evening and generously contributing and buying pizzas galore. No, I'm kidding, just a few pizzas. And it was just a nice event, and everybody was very grateful from the City of Hope. The executive director, Mercedes Quintanilla, and her staff, as well as some of the other board members were there. They were very grateful. And that's all I have for now. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to once again welcome everyone to our council meeting this evening, and I hope that everyone has been staying safe. I know we've had our ups and downs with the weather, but it's just a reminder to always drive safely, take that little extra time as you leave for work in the morning or dropping off young children at school, or you're driving those freeways and during a heavy rain pour. Again, it kind of comes and goes, but I think if you focus on being prepared, taking a little extra time to breathe and be safe, then that goes a long way. The other thing I want to mention, as apparently California, LA was not made or built to withstand some of the amount of rain that we have been receiving. We see that on our roadways, including in the city of Norwalk. So I want to remind you all that if you're not already using Norwalk Connects, I highly encourage you to download the app. It is a free app, and you can report a host of issues from graffiti removal, trash services, abandoned bulky items, lost pets, trash cans in public view, for example, illegal parking, vending, public safety issues, curb painting, potholes. I mean, there's just a whole list of items that you can conveniently report any problems that you witness in your neighborhood or throughout the city. And we ask our employees to do the same. So we just ask you as residents and community members to also help us to keep Norwalk safe and keep Norwalk clean. So please help us out that way so that when there are issues, for example, as potholes, we can address them and get them fixed right away. And with the Norwalk Connects app, when you report an issue, you actually get an acknowledgement and a follow-up to let you know when the issue has been fixed. Plus, you get a survey to respond to how did we handle your request, give us some feedback, how did we do, how can we do better. So it's definitely a very easy and convenient way to have communication with our city staff, those individuals out there trying to keep our city safe and clean. And with that is all I have for this evening. We'll continue with the portion of the rest of our city council agenda. And we have a special presentation. Do we have Kat and Elijah Panel present? Can you come up to the podium while I introduce our proclamation this evening? So the city of Norwalk is proclaiming February as American Heart Month. This February is recognized as American Heart Month, a time to raise awareness about cardiovascular health and the importance of preventing heart disease. It reminds us to adopt a heart-healthy lifestyle by staying physically active and spreading awareness. It is also about early detection and reducing the burden of illness. Accepting this proclamation is Emergency PR, located in our city of Norwalk at 13429 and a half Pumis Street. Representatives of the center are Kat and Elijah, who are American Heart Association instructors. We appreciate their efforts in educating future generations about the importance of basic life support and CPR. We commend their dedication alongside other local organizations and workplace wellness programs that play a vital role in prioritizing heart health. We extend our gratitude to all the organizations, leaders, and groups working together to address these risk factors. And it was very important for the city of Norwalk to make this proclamation because we are on a path to wellness, healthy lifestyle, overall well-being, and we know that cardiovascular disease affects many, particularly women, and we are doing our part here in the Norwalk to raise awareness, and we thank you for partnering with us to do that as well. So thank you, and I will present you with your proclamation, and we'll take a few photos, if you don't mind, with myself and my colleagues. Is there anything that you would like to say? You'd like to share or comment, please feel free.
Well, we are Kat and Elijah Panel, and we are with Emergency PR, and we're passionate about heart health, and we're passionate about the well-being of the community. And I grew up in the city of Norwalk. I graduated from John Glenn, and I love just giving back and serving the community of Norwalk and the greater Los Angeles area of life-saving skills of CPR and just really promoting healthy lifestyle. I think that's what we need to build a stronger community. So I appreciate and thank you, Mayor Rios, for having us here in the city of Norwalk. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Ditto, thank you.
Great.
Come on now.
That's right.
Can't just stand there and look pretty.
That's right.
Ready, here we go. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3.
Ready, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. One more go. Ready, 1, 2, 3. Last one, 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Thank you. Can I get one more just with the two? Sure. I'm gonna stand in the middle while you guys are. Sorry, I gotta turn this way.
That's okay.
Okay, ready, here we go. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3.
Stop for the photo. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
so much. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much.
As I was doing some research for the month of February, and I did not know that February was American Heart Health Month, and so I just thought it was fitting to have a proclamation. And thank you, city staff. I think you've selected the perfect recipients. And another initiative that we have is we are doing a 5K this year here in the city, June 5th, I believe. Save the
June
second,
2nd.
June 2nd, save the date. So I expect you both to participate. Okay, thank you, thank you. Okay, we'll continue now with our city manager comments. Mr. Gomez.
Yes, Mayor Rios, members of the city council and our community. Just as you mentioned, to the community, as the weather continues, please drive safe, be safe, and help a neighbor if needed. It will continue to rain on us, and it presents challenges. And so, again, report any items that may be in your way, or obstructions to our community, so that we can take care of them safely. Next, we have our preferential parking program update, and Mr. Ramos will present.
Thank you, Mr. Gomez. Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. Want to take the opportunity to provide an update on our preferential parking here in the city. As you know, the City's Department of Public Safety is proactively addressing our parking challenges here in the city. Today, I'm happy to report that we're at the initial implementation phases of our comprehensive parking study. Taking you back, in 2021, this City Council authorized a citywide parking study in response to the increased concerns regarding limited residential parking. And in 2022, all of you adopted the Parking Action Plan. And today, I'm happy to report that we have completed phase 1, updating our municipal code in compliance with the 2016 Attorney General opinion, and created an implementation plan for the next phases. It's important that I remind everyone here today that the city's top priority is understanding the community's needs to improve our parking here in our city. I've also want to remind everyone that intertwined with our preferential parking are complaints of quality of life. Just the other day, the mayor and I had an opportunity to meet with the Contreras family, who expressed those concerns, that sometimes these parking problems in communities result into long-term neighbor disputes arising of those issues that arise sometimes of trash and noise complaints. One of the things that I did appreciate from the parking plan that was suggested by Dixon Ultimate Resources was the appreciation to realize that this process is going to happen incrementally, because the problems in this city as it relates to parking are attached to people. And attached to those people are the men and women in our public safety department who are entrusted to enforcing some of these policies. So one of the things that the plan has asked of us is, before we implement and we go fully operational, is that we take an opportunity to take a deeper dive. And that's what I want to talk about here next. To ensure our plan success, we're leveraging our quadrant system model as a management tool to implement policies based on data-driven insights, emphasizing fairness, adaptability, and efficiency. This is one of the things that the council has asked of staff, is to provide the performance leadership, the performance management, and the performance measurement. Right now, happening in our community, we are monitoring residential areas that are impacted with the most complaints. As you can see from the photograph, the picture depicted is the area of Quadrant 3, which is over in the area of Rosecrans to Pioneer to Alondra. And those communities were focused on 3 critical objectives: to monitor the enforcement and data collection, to prepare residents for rezone enrollment, and to advance parking technology for virtual enforcement and sanitation management. Next slide. We have our quadrant officers that we never had before. And if you remember, when I first introduced our quadrant model program here in the city, we were going to layer this process in introducing our parking plan here today. We have now our public safety officers, our quadrant officers in particular, out in the community providing an assessment, leveraging technology, speaking out, collecting the data of what the parking situation looks like now. As you remember, in 2021, part of our parking study was our outreach to the community. This was done virtually during COVID-19. Today, it's important that we go back into those communities, especially the ones that are impacted the most, to provide that assessment. We're also going to take the opportunity to do the community outreach. Leveraging our quadrant officers, we now have the opportunity to take our time and meet with the apartment managers, to meet with the residents, to be able to provide actionable feedback. The other thing that we're hoping to gain out of this is to come back to council. This update is not a one and done. We want to come back and give you actionable recommendations that are going to work in different parts of our community. Because in Norwalk, we realize that it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. We're actually looking to really address the needs of our community. Excellent. The other phase that's important that I talk about, that's ongoing, is the monitoring of enforcement and data collection that I just talked about. The second is preparing for the re-enrollment of residents. I realize residents have been waiting a long time for this. And as much as I'd like to get it off my plate and move on to another initiative, to me, it's more important about getting it right. And then when we do engage with the community, that we go out to the community in our mobile law enforcement trailers and re-enroll people there, to provide a strategic campaign of messaging on where and how the process is going to impact all of them. And more importantly, we're looking to advance, as part of the recommendations in our parking action plan, is to advance technology initiatives and mutual enforcement and citation management. And then the last phase is using the parking action recommendations along with the field collected data in phase 2. And again, as I said, update the council on what the best way to approach this. In phase 3, we will update the permanent zone requirement guidelines. We will revise the residential parking zones in accordance to the plan. We will reopen applications for new zones. And lastly, we will implement a virtual enforcement. Lastly, I would be remiss if I didn't thank my staff, from my senior management analysts to the dispatchers in the office, to the public safety in the field, to my colleagues here with me and their staff in trying to get the best plan that is going to be sustainable here in the city. With that, I thank you for your time. That concludes my report.
Council, are there any questions for Mr. Ramos? Ms. Valencia?
You said that you were going to get us, you hope to get us the information on when we think it's going to be completed. When are we anticipating? I think I missed that part if you said it, but I'd like to know.
Oh, thank you.
Excuse me, 2-part. And when do we think that those that have the permitted streets, when they're going to be able to start applying? Thank you.
Councilmember Valencia, that's a great question. So I anticipate that this process is going to take a couple months. We're going to analyze the data, and when we get the data and the policy recommendations, we will be meeting with you and providing you a better analysis of what we see out there. We are also in the process of having a educational campaign, if you will. We'll provide information to the community. We'll keep them updated. We are in the process right now of obviously updating our webpage and our media channels that we purposely set up. Our Instagram and our Facebook. It's going to way we're going to communicate with our community. So to answer your question, it's going to take a little bit. But I promise you, when we roll out this program, we will make adjustments to the way. That's one of the things that the parking plan talks about. We're going to be adjusting, but I just want to make sure I get it right.
Madam Mayor, if I may. I just have a question. Mr. Ramos, in your plan and your study, does this also include those areas that had been grandfathered in previous when it comes to the permitting process? And for example, I'm alluding to is that area on Studebaker, that whole area, I guess it's the alley parking that they were grandfathered to park there because of the high number of accidents on Studebaker. And then just this, I guess yesterday, I think it's Studebaker and Alondra, or between Alondra, I can't remember the other street, but I know just yesterday they had 2 accidents in the morning in that area. And I think it was critical that they were allowed to park in the alley to avoid any future incidences on that section. I know it's been a hazard. So these are the specific, special areas that we want to target as well? Is that part of that plan?
Thank you, Councilmember Ramirez. I appreciate the question. And I'm going to say we're looking at everything. Right now, we're specifically focused on the preferential plan. The concerns that you're specifically talking about, I know intimately well. My colleague, Glenn, and I have been out there in the community. We've had a neighborhood watch meeting to talk about those issues. Those are something that we're working on right now. I anticipate as we do the community outreach to the different quadrant areas, there will be other things that will be brought up. And when I report back, if those things are actionable in this process, we will address them. If not, we have other resources and mediums in which we can adjust them.
Ozzy, something, I just had an email about this the other day and I just sent it over to you. There's a new state law that went into effect. We love how the state has mandated new laws that change our local zones. But there is a new law, AB 413, I sent you the email, that is increasing the buffer zones and visibility around crosswalks, parking around crosswalks, which would then change some of our parking requirements, red zones, et cetera, when it comes to streets. And just to touch on, the zone that Councilmember Ramirez talked about, We have so many of our streets where our residents park on the street that this may affect because it also includes non-marked crosswalks. So I sent you the bill, take a look at it, because I think that's going to be something, we're going to see some more state mandates when it comes to parking around crosswalks, et cetera, driveways that would change our zones. I think, John, I sent you the same email on how that's going to affect our parking in the city. So it's just one more thing that we have to thank the state for. And as I get things in my email with certain bills, I'll definitely pass them along to you all.
That's great.
Vice Mayor Ayala?
No, good job to Ozzie and Jesus. I think this has been the most cogent explanation of how this is all gonna work, because I know a lot of us have, wanting to see how it evolved. Also want to thank you, Mayor, because I know you had a big part in getting the ball rolling on that, and, Jennifer picked up, behind you. And, yeah, congratulations, because, this is something we're actually gonna see now. And congratulations, kudos.
Thank you.
That's it. Good job.
Thank you. I do have a few questions just for clarification. So the results of the parking study are in?
Yes.
Okay. And the plan is for staff to just kind of look that over and provide additional recommendations before the entire report is brought back to the council, or what's the plan with that, Ozzie?
Yes. Yes, thank you. Yes, we are looking at those recommendations to make sure that we ensure the viability of those policies we're recommending, and we're just refreshing it, getting back into the community. Those recommendations were given during COVID. I can tell you that the amount of complaints we got then and the complaints we get now. So we just want to make sure we're right and we're meeting the community's needs and that we're proactive in changes that need to be done.
Yeah. I know when we sought out, when we requested a parking study at the time, because it made sense, because we were dealing with, obviously the parking issue has been an ongoing issue. And we were trying to find the balance between the homeowners who had concerns with their, availability of parking. And we had the tenants of multifamily housing who also were faced with very limited parking. So I know this was one of the things that we all agreed we needed to do in order to come up with some type of solution that would help both sides or all sides and parties involved. And the issue about the preferential parking that's currently, I'll say the preferential permit parking that exists but has not been enforced. I think there was a lack of education on that piece, because I know that I got many questions about those homeowners that had preferential permit parking in their area. And when it came time to renew their permit, they were told that was not an option. So I don't know if at any point in the past we communicated this to those that had permitted parking, because it doesn't seem that they knew that it was not a viable option to renew your permit because we weren't enforcing preferential parking at the time.
Ma'am, we're in the process of pushing out to the community. We are going to have small leaflets for our public safety officers to have when they have opportunities to engagement in those type of situations, to provide clear, concise, and unambiguous direction of what we want them to do.
Yes, because you're right. The education piece is very, very important. And it'll just help us ultimately what we reach a consensus on as far as moving forward. It'll help us if the community is well informed on what, where, when, and why, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Ozzie. Do you anticipate a future date for us that we can look forward to? Any idea of how soon we'll get some information, a follow-up on this presentation?
I will keep the council updated, ma'am. I don't want to give you an exact date here, but it's going to take a little bit. I ask for your patience. We just want to make sure that we're looking at everything in our city, meeting with the stakeholders, making sure we're meeting with staff, leveraging technology. It's a process. We have the priorities that were recommended by Dixon, and we're using that as a guide. That is something that I want to make sure that not only these recommendations align to the mission, vision, and goals of the city, and to make sure that the community feels that we've actually heard them and are trying to resolve problems in their community.
Yeah. My ask at this point, although I don't mind fielding all the different inquiries via phone or email, but I think it would help if we just agree on sending a message or some type of educational information, an FAQ, some type of communication so that the residents know exactly what is it that's going on in terms of the preferential parking permit program.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you so much. That's all the questions for Mr. Ramos. Jesus?
Yes, Mayor Rios, members of City Council. I will have Levy present this one. He put it together, so I'd like for him to present.
This is regarding the YouTube. Good evening, Council, my Mayor, and residents and community of Norwalk. As part of our effort to increase our accessibility of our content, our staff has been working diligently to not only make sure that our City Council meetings are streamed live on YouTube and Facebook, but we also, with the help of staff, created a tutorial video that allows people to select their preferred language in the caption of YouTube. So YouTube already provides that feature, but they don't promote it that well. So in an effort to make sure that those watching can read the caption in their preferred language, no matter what language it is, they can choose that here. So we have a tutorial video that we created regarding this.
Hey Norwalk residents, are you looking to add captions to our YouTube videos? Here is a simple tutorial. To start, let's show you how to turn on captions. First, go to the video player and click on this icon that says CC. This will turn auto-generated captions on. To change the language of the captions, click the settings icon that looks like a gear and click on subtitles, CC. Click on auto translate to access a variety of languages. We are proud of our diversity in Norwalk. That's why turning on captions in a preferred language will allow more people to stay connected to Norwalk.
And we will be promoting this not just through the YouTube channel, but also we printed in our Norwalk Now, so more people can be aware of this feature. Thank you.
And this is just another tool for us to be able to continue to communicate to our community in their own language. So all of our YouTube videos that we have can have that access to their own language in our community. So just another communication tool. And then the next will be the biweekly review video. All of the activity that has happened in these past couple of weeks.
On January 26, 2024, the Mary Paxson Art Gallery hosted an art exhibit. Jocelyn Cruz, an artist and Norwalk resident, showcased her work titled, "It is Not Homelessness If We Share." Families gathered at the Social Services Center on February 1st to celebrate Valentine's Day. They wrote love notes and decorated tote bags to express their love for others. On February 6th, a ribbon-cutting ceremony was held to welcome a new extra space storage facility to Norwalk. The facility is located at 14879 Carmenita Road. Seniors participated in a Keeping It Crafty event held at the Senior Center on February 8th. They decorated cookies and created crafts to display and give as gifts. On February 10th, the HOPE team from Public Safety organized the first Revitalization Initiative program, with the aim of keeping Norwalk clean. The cleanup event involved the California Conservation Corps, Door of Hope, Target employees, and the Norwalk High School cheer team. Norwalk residents recently attended a Valentine's Day themed Meet the Mayor event at Social Services Center on February 12th. The community had the chance to open their hearts to the mayor.
And Mayor Rios and members of the City Council, next we have our Director's Report, and tonight we have our Public Safety Department update, and we will have Mr. Ramos present.
I'd just like to, first of all, just comment the fact that I'm humbled by the opportunity to lead such great men and women here in the city in public safety. They do a tremendous job. There are many opportunities that I get to go out in the community and meet some folks, and it's awesome when you hear some of the great things they're doing. And as the director of public safety, when we fall short, that's on me. And I tell people all the time, there's many opportunities to make it better. And when we can, we will. The department has grown thanks to all of you on the city council who's made the investment of $3.9 million in public safety. And our partnership with the sheriff's department continues to improve. And so on behalf of everybody in public safety, thank you for your continued support.
And Mayor Rios, that concludes my report.
You know what, I'd just like to make a comment about that. I mean, I think the whole video was great. But what caught my eye is that, and I'm sure Ramirez knows this, the city's been trying to do an emergency response program, EOC, and that whole thing for about 30 years. You know, so to see you working on that, and you got Richard Newton working on that, that's a godsend. There's mayors from 30 years ago that really wish that they could have had that same kind of program going on. So that was great, great video. That's all.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Gomez, and thank you, Mr. Ramos, for your director's report. Okay, moving on now to our consent calendar. I have items 1 through 7.
Move it.
Second.
Can I get a roll call, please?
Councilmembers Perez,
Aye.
Ramirez,
Aye.
Valencia,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Ayala,
Aye.
and Mayor Rios.
Aye. Appointments, are there any advisory body appointments from council this evening?
Yes,
Okay, if I may.
I'd like to reappoint Mr. David Ang to the, oh gosh, what is it called? Community Promotion Commission with the colleagues agreement.
Move it.
Yes, second. Thank you. Second.
Backfire.
Do we need a roll call? Oh,
Okay, so we have Councilmember Valencia made the motion and Councilmember Perez made the second. So we will go ahead and do roll call if you're ready. Councilmembers Perez.
Aye.
Ramirez.
Aye.
Valencia. Aye. Vice Mayor Ayala
Aye.
and Mayor Rios.
Aye. Okay, congratulations. Okay, moving on now to our public hearing. Resolution number 24-11 is an application for grant funding for a permanent local housing allocation program. Staff recommends City Council adopt resolution number 24-11, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Norwalk approving the application for grant funding from the California Department of Housing and Community Development's Permanent Local Housing Allocation Program and authorizing the city manager to execute all related documents. And I am now opening up this portion of the meeting for the public hearing. And City Clerk, is there a public notice report?
Yes, Mayor, members of the City Council, notice of the draft application was posted on the city's official website from February 7th through February 20th of 2024 for public review. Notice of the hearing was also published in the Norwalk Patriot, the city's adjudicated newspaper, and posted at the city's 3 designated posting places and the website on February 9th. We have received no communications.
Okay, thank you, City Clerk. Do we have a staff report?
Yes, Ms. Chilarabi will present.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Thank you for your time. As you may see shortly, the following presentation is similar to one from late 2022 when I came before you for the same request. Our initial application was withdrawn by HCD because we didn't have a compliant housing element by the deadline. As a result, we're required to obtain a new resolution for the PLHA program. And fortunately, we do have a compliant housing element now as of this past November. So I'll just run through hopefully this rather quickly. So to provide some background, the PLHA grant is established through SB2 as a funding source to provide affordable housing throughout California. The city is eligible to receive up to $3.5 million over a 5-year funding period. The city intends to use the PLHA grant, when awarded, to create a permit-ready ADU program. Essentially, the activities will include compiling a local data inventory, conducting outreach, developing policies, preparing pre-approved design plans, and preparing ADU guidelines. The fiscal impact, again, is an anticipated up to $3.5 million over the 5-year period, and the city is not required to provide any matching funds. Staff recommends City Council adopt Resolution 24-11, a resolution approving the application for grant funding from HCD for the PLHA program and authorizing the city manager to execute all related documents. This concludes staff's presentation. I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
Before we do that, I now open the public hearing portion of this item. Is there anyone here wishing to speak before the council on this item? Anyone here? No?
I don't have any speaker cards.
No speaker cards? Okay. With that then, seeing that there are no speakers present nor speaker cards held by the city clerk, I'll now return this item for discussion by the council. Colleagues, do you have any questions?
Mayor, if we could, can we bring back up the presentation and I believe slide number 4? This is a program that I've seen in several conferences with the different associations that we belong to, where various cities adopt a plan very similar to this, and it has successfully provided a huge amount of savings to the residents in their cities. Because if a resident comes into City Hall and says, I want to build an ADU at my house, but I don't know where to start, and I don't know how much it's going to cost, and I don't know what I can do, I don't know this, I don't know this. A program like this is going to put them in the right path. And it's going to save them money because they're not going to have to go and get drawings. It's already going to be done for them. There's going to be a sample of of layouts that they can, choose from and say, we know that this will already fit in your home. It'll save you time, money, and energy in order to get this approved and really be a source of relief for our residents. And I think this is a great, successful program, and I'm very excited to see that we're going to bring it to our city. Thank you for all the work on that. I'll move it.
Okay, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmembers Perez,
Aye.
Ramirez.
Aye.
Valencia,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Ayala,
Aye.
Mayor Rios.
Aye. And before we continue to the next item, I do want to thank Councilmember Perez for mentioning that, because that really is on point as to the forethought that the staff has in terms of the accessory dwelling units and housing availability for the community of Norwalk. So thank you. Our next item is reports. Item number 10, Heart of Norwalk Specific Plan Update. Who will present?
Mr. John Ramirez will present, and we have our consultant who's here to walk us through the presentation.
Thank you, Jesus. Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. This evening, we wanted to provide you an update as to the effort that has been going on related to the Heart of Norwalk Specific Plan. With me today is our staff team, Jill Arabi, and also Carlos Rojas. Carlos is sitting behind me. And then we have a portion of our consultant team, Philip Burns from Arroyo Group, and also Ken Hira from Cosmont. So what we wanted to do was provide a presentation of the background, the effort to date. A little bit of it will be a refresher as to our effort. As you might recall, this effort started, I think, in 2019, 2020 with the strategic visioning plan. And that effort, kind of in the midst of the pandemic, I think is when we kicked this off. So a little bit of a refresher there, and then bring you up to speed and up to date. And the goal for today is to inform you as the council and also the community, but also if there's an opportunity for us to hear feedback from you or concerns or recommendations on the plan and answer questions, we would love to hear that from you tonight as well. And the goal from here would be to move into preparing the initiation of the environmental impact report associated with the specific plan document. That'll still be a few months out, and we'll update you before we do that. But this is the first step to getting us to that point. So with that, I'd like to introduce you to Philip Burns. He's with the Royal Group. He has been with us from the very beginning, literally walking the streets with the team and interviewing and connecting with the community. And so he'll be helping out with the bulk of the presentation. And then we have Ken and a few others here if you have any questions. So thank you so much. With that, Phil, thank you.
Thank you. Excellent. Thank you, John, Mayor Rios, council members. It's a great pleasure to be with you. As John mentioned, I've been had the great pleasure of working with the Norwalk community, as well as the city staff and new council members as well, since late 2020, when we began work on the vision plan. And it's exciting to start to see this now come into fruition. So my goal today is to show you a little bit, give a bit of a sense of what we are actually planning for with the Heart of Norwalk specific plan. And then, as John mentioned, get your feedback, particularly on the land use plan, before we actually get into drafting the document and doing the environmental impact report. So, excellent. So since the beginning, it has been clear to us that Norwalk is a community with a lot of heart. And yet, while the city has had places that it could always call its heart or its center historically, going way back to the founding of the city or to Town Square, today that physical heart is a little bit missing. Look at Front Street today. And yet there's a great yearning for it, right? You've seen that in your various projects that you all are working on. see that in the events that we had, the Front Street Fridays, for example, a couple of summers ago. And so the goal of the Heart of Norwalk specific plan is really to bring back that heart, or that physical heart, that center to this community that has so much community spirit or heart. Now, as we talked with the community and have been talking with them for now several years, there are a couple of key themes that have really resonated with us and are really guiding the way that we are thinking about developing the plan. So the community engagement has been pretty robust. As you see there, 6 community workshops, 3 Front Street Friday events, engaging with over 3,000, actually about 5,000 people on Instagram, over 3,000 comments and likes, 363 surveys. And we've heard many different things. But one of the key issues that keeps coming up, as you see, is history and roots, a sense of the community, supporting the community. What we kind of group as one key theme of pride in people and place. So not making Norwalk just like every place else, but really representing Norwalk's history, supporting local businesses, expressing the local culture of this community. We asked, even though we don't want to be like any place else, we asked what elements from different places would you draw into the heart of Norwalk to really create a place that's a center of town for you. And people mentioned Uptown Whittier because it was authentic and had local businesses. People mentioned the Promenade at Downey because it's a place where people like to go out, get together. They mentioned the SoCo district in Fullerton because of the nightlife, which is kind of missing in the area as well. Okay, second theme that we kind of heard from folks, can see it in some of the comments, being clean and safe, sustainability, having a green network. Overall, thinking about the topic of health and wellness. It's a topic that's already come up in our meeting today, isn't it? Complete streets, quality public spaces, and a healthy green ecosystem. And so, of course, a key element of all that is getting people active, right? Getting them walking around, maybe biking around, using other ways to get around the community other than just driving everywhere. And so we asked people in a survey if they agreed that streets in the heart of Norwalk should be designed for safe and comfortable walking and biking, even if it were to require removing a lane or slowing driving speeds. And even with that qualification, you see that really a strong majority of the survey respondents agreed with that statement. Final theme, kind of here, we heard a lot about community events, getting together, places to hang out, parks. Overall, we grouped that into the theme of supportive community, right? Places to gather, improving the quality of life, and also we're throwing affordability into that category as well, because we want to make sure that the heart of Norwalk, whatever it is, it's a place that is welcoming of the entire Norwalk community, right? The people who are here today. We asked people what kinds of land uses they wanted to see on the commercial streets in the heart of Norwalk. So it's Firestone, San Antonio, etc. Obviously, there was a lot of interest in shops, restaurants, particularly, again, those businesses where people can gather together, cafes, restaurants, etc. But if you look at this kind of scatter plot of all the responses here, you can see that it was actually quite varied. It went definitely beyond the shops and restaurants. Residents also want to see new residential opportunities to help promote housing availability to serve the community. All right. So now with those kind of key principles enumerated, let's get into how we then apply these throughout the heart of Norwalk area. So first, I think as we think about pride in people and place, we're trying to create districts that have a unique identity that, again, create something really unique and different in Norwalk that your neighbors will not have. And so the first key district that we really want to focus on is the Front Street area. the Front Street Historic District as a revitalized historic Main Street and entertainment district. The second district is the Town Square District, which is today, it's always been an iconic shopping district, but with new public spaces brought into it. And then finally, the Triangle District, which is up that area between Imperial, Firestone, Pioneer, which is an area for walkable urban living. Health and wellness, how do we apply that? Again, we talked about complete streets, so we're looking at the streets and pathways through the heart of Norwalk area. Firestone Boulevard, really envisioning that as a signature green boulevard for the city. A real signature move that when people think of Norwalk, they will think of a beautiful boulevard that Firestone could be in the future. San Antonio, backbone connection, really, right, combines what's going to happen here at the Civic Center with Front Street, with Town Square. So that's the backbone connection with a neighborhood feel. And then finally, the railway corridor, a regional recreational trail opportunity next to the rail line. All right, and then finally, the third theme there of supportive community, supporting the social element across all of these districts and corridors through a mix of residential and commercial uses, and really critically, public space. So planning for public space and open space throughout all of these areas. Okay, so let's zoom in on these areas. Let's get a sense of what they could feel like in the future. Again, it's a long-range plan. It's not necessarily going to look like this tomorrow, but it is a North Star for us to point to and for us to guide the specific plans, regulations, and implementation actions toward. So here's what Front Street looks like today, right? And here is the vision for the future of Front Street. What do we see here, right? We see the historic buildings preserved, but given new life, right? With dining, with music venues, with public meeting places, cafes, bars, places for people to gather, right? Within that historic setting. We see bringing out the sidewalk on the northern side so that we can create a nice big strip there for outdoor dining and showing there's people activating the street. That does take away a little bit of space from the roadway, so we reconfigure the roadway as a one-way street with diagonal parking, very slow traffic moving through there, and pedestrian space and open space throughout it. Okay, gonna zoom back a second. So looking at Front Street now, but from a further back angle, here's what it looks like today. And here is what it could look like in the future. So surrounding Front Street and to bring people to Front Street and keep those businesses viable, we have to keep people in the area, right? And so what you see there is the Prime Store project recently approved, which is a modestly scaled but still important project that will bring lots of people, likely young professionals and members of the Norwalk community, living very close to Front Street, where they can patronize those businesses and again keep it active, and also other connections like so with the regional recreational trail on the railway corridor, helping to bring people into this area, using things like gateway signs to really brand the district as something special and continuing to hold festivals and events as you have been doing along the street to activate it. Okay, Town Square District. So here is the 5 Points intersection today. We're looking straight down San Antonio Drive from 5 Points with the Town Square sign there on the left-hand side. And here is what it could look like in the future. While the Town Square Shopping Center remains largely the same, we have added a significant amount of new public space and park space onto the area that today is occupied with the southbound lanes of San Antonio Drive. That extra space can become a gateway plaza. It can bring in, you know, amenities like a dog park, like pickleball courts, community gardens, etc., into this neighborhood that already has, you know, a lot of seniors, a lot of dense multifamily living, and creating open space for them. In order to do that, we reconfigure San Antonio Drive so the southbound traffic on San Antonio moves over to Orange Street and then to Pioneer as they come south. And while that may feel odd and like it may cause a traffic problem, as Deepak Kaushik, our engineer, the traffic engineer, will explain later, that actually creates a simpler intersection that actually reduces delay while improving safety. And so let's go to the third district, which is the Triangle District. So here's a look at it today. A lot of industrial, you know, the big Northgate Shopping Center, the Metro Point apartments, kind of an amalgam of things in this area. And here is what it could look like in the future. So we do see here a significant amount of new development, new residential development, still within very much a human scale. So 3 to 5 stories. I'm talking about throughout this entire, all of the sort of focus areas. And this area in particular can accommodate that development without really impacting at all any of the nearby residential uses. It's close to the freeway. It has that transportation infrastructure already there. It's separated from the single family neighborhoods. Doing that also can allow some extra retail to be built, infill retail at the Northgate Shopping Center that you see there. And then really transforming this environment, which today is a little bit bleak, with a linked network of open spaces to create a highly livable environment for the people that live there and work and shop there. Okay, so I'm going to move into the corridors now. So we'll take a look at Firestone Boulevard first. This is a photo here between San Antonio and Clarkdale. So it looks like now, and here is what it could look like in the future. See that prime store project built over there with attainable housing for younger folks in the community. But then the street itself also with a major change, right? Becoming that kind of green signature boulevard. What does it express? It expresses Norwalk is a livable place. Norwalk is a desirable place to be, and we're different, right, than other cities in the nearby area. San Antonio corridor. So here's what it looks like today in the vicinity of Orange Street. And again, here's the vision here. So as I mentioned, this is a real key backbone corridor connecting Front Street, Civic Center, Town Square. So you have a bikeway there connecting those 3 places, which are not located that far from each other. They're definitely an easy bicycle distance. And then some of the new uses that come into the area at a smaller, more neighborhood feel type of scale here that's appropriate for what this street actually feels like. Okay, finally, the railway corridor. So we're just again looking at that freight railway over there just to the south of Front Street. And the idea is really we're just taking a small portion of it. Of course, this is going to require the sign off of the railroads, but taking a small portion of it and turning that into a greenway. And this is the area that really, you know, in addition to all the others, really serves that health and wellness goal for the people of the city. So it's a jogging path, it's a biking path, it's got lots of greenery, it's got public art as well, community art. Okay, so having understood now kind of what we're talking about, what this vision is, what it looks like in the different places, let's talk about kind of the feasibility, let's talk about impacts, let's talk about the zoning. What do we need to do? What is the land use plan that's actually required to make this happen? So here is the zoning map of the city currently. You've got a sort of patchwork of different districts all through the area, but I think one of the key things to note is that all the areas that are highlighted in black, or that have a black outline around them, are actually already zoned for mixed use development, residential with commercial, at 30 dwelling units per acre. And sorry, so the areas in red and purple are already zoned for that. The areas that are in black are the areas where a proposed increase, where we're proposing an increase in order to help this plan get implemented. And most of those areas overlap, right? So it's mostly areas where already mixed use is permitted, allowing changing the standards by which we allow those mixed use projects to happen, and giving it some order too. So the land use plan really tries to concentrate those areas where we're wanting to get, people on foot, like parking in a shared parking lot, out of their cars, walking, going to restaurants, gathering, concentrating those kind of in those red areas that you see on the map, as well as town square. And the rest of the area allowing for more flexibility in terms of what kind of development can be built there, whether that's commercial or residential. And in terms of the residential density itself, so those same areas where we're really trying to focus the increase focus the pedestrian traffic and the active commercial uses are the same areas where there would be a more significant increase in the density allowed, while actually the majority of this area in the blue would only have a smaller kind of increase in density. And then the areas that have no color on there, which are mostly the residential neighborhoods, no change proposed. So get a sense of how this build out could go. It's a long-term plan, right? It's not, Rome wasn't built in a day, and Norwalk won't be built in a day either. 2026, hopefully, get the first development coming in, prime store development at the corner of Firestone and Clarkdale, with revitalization of those storefronts along Front Street. Take it another 11 years in the future, 13 years from now, we see half of this maybe built out. That's an average increase of 118 units a year. And some of the major sites, right? We see those being redeveloped, the 98-cent store, the car wash, etc., as well as some of the public space changes and roadway changes. At 100% build out, maybe 30 years from now, we see not all of the properties change from what they are today, but a significant number of them upgraded and changed with new uses and this vision more fully realized. So overall, the current zoning allows already, or has kind of an expected development capacity of about 2,000 units, 2,053 units currently, and that's a 7% increase over your 28,000 that you currently have in the city. This plan basically proposes over a 30-year period about 3,000 additional units. So it's a little bit higher, 50% higher than what the current zoning allows. It is worth noting that this number is actually still not sufficient to meet the city's RENA. So, of course, RENA is being provided for in different areas around the city, but did want to point that out. We would assume that the projects that would be built, again, residential and commercial, in the residential side, we're probably going to see a mix of affordable housing, rental housing, market rate rental housing, which might be the largest amount, and then also market rate for sale housing and first time home buyer type housing, which I think would be really a bonus for the community as well. All right, so having reviewed all of that, I'm going to pass it off now to Ken Hera from Cosmont and Deepak Kaushik from Itiris to talk about some of the economic and traffic index.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Mayor and members of the council. It's always good to be here. This is a summary of some of the market research that we did to help support land uses, if you will, and the advancement of the Heart of Norwalk specific plan. So I'll summarize. The area particularly has a higher jobs housing ratio, which might point to the fact that some housing would be beneficial in the study area. You can see we've pulled some metrics. You've got some lower rents because you've got older product in the retail and the office and in the industrial product type, focusing on retail while vacancy is low, rents are relatively low. You've got about a third or over a third of all the retail office and industrial space within the area that's older than 40 years old. We look at that metric and try to think, okay, is there an opportunity? Is it ripe to be reimagined or redeveloped? And what could it be redeveloped into? A mix or a blend of uses, including residential, makes a lot of sense. Residential remains a driver for new development, as well as the ability for those folks to spend money in the city and in the study area. This slide, and this is all we have for by way of summary, but there's a lot of background to it that we've been working with the Royal Group on. It's very interesting because the additional residential that comes to the Heart of Norwalk can help support businesses. So we took a look at an estimate for the employees, not a huge number, but it could equate to about $1 million, almost $1 million, 957,000 in taxable spending within the city. So you have new employees who will spend money. The residential to the tune of about 3,000 units, and those that are occupied about 2,964, have a certain spending potential as well. As we analyze what they spend and what people generally spend on retail, the allocation could be upwards of $200 million. And, the newer products, the newer housing does tend to attract some higher incomes and higher income households with disposable income that want to spend money on some food and entertainment. And so with the $200 some odd million, we took an allocation of what the city might capture. It's just an estimate at about 60%. And that means that you end up with the potential of about $123.5 million of spending potential from the residents that could be living in the new Heart of Norwalk. That's over a build out period. So it equates to, with some analytics behind it, about almost $125 million of potential retail spending that can come from the folks who are living there that will help support new retail that's there of about 170,000 square feet. And that, of course, translates into taxable general fund sales revenues for the city. And that's probably over $2 million. So that's just a summary. There's lots of detail behind it. And we look forward to continuing to work on this. I'll hand it over to Deepak now to talk about traffic. Thank you.
All right. Good evening. My name is Deepak Kaushik with Itiris, Principal Engineer. We're the Traffic Transportation Subconsultant supporting the Arroyo Group on this project. So I'm just going to give an update on the traffic analysis, traffic study that's going to be included as part of the plan for this project. The study area that we're looking at is shown here. We have 10 intersections, key intersections located in and around the proposed land use changes that Phil talked about, those locations, and where circulation modifications are being proposed. So they're primarily on San Antonio, Firestone, and Pioneer. So we had 10 intersections. We collected new traffic counts at these intersections on typical weekdays back in 2022. And so we've taken those traffic counts done during peak periods. Typical traditional traffic studies are done for peak period of 7 to 9 a.m. and 4 to 6 p.m. in the evening. So we've taken those traffic counts. The study area includes both signalized and unsignalized intersections in and around, like I said, where changes are being proposed. So the measure that we use in our traffic studies, the measure of congestion, the measure of operations is called level of service. It's a measure on a report card scale, as you can see, A to F, A being low congestion and F being higher congestion. So it is a measure of congestion at an intersection, and it's displayed in terms of average delay. So the delay felt by a driver, an average delay felt by a driver, and that's how the grade is assigned. So we have the signalized intersections and unsignalized intersections, a different measure for each. The key takeaway from this is that LOS values that are range from C to D, kind of the midpoint there, is kind of that sweet spot of your network to say kind of that your streets are not overbuilt and they're not underbuilt. It's kind of that level of service sweet spot there. So at our 10 intersections, and this will all be part of the traffic study that will be part of the plan. At our 10 intersections, we took a look at the current conditions. So there's a lot of numbers on this table here. Average delay in the AM peak hour and the PM peak hour at the 10 intersections, with the 5 points one highlighted here in pink as the only intersection that's operating currently at LOS F. Like I said, that's the worst grade on the chart there, LOS F, while the others are a combination of B's and C's. One LOS E, but that's also because it's a stop controlled intersection. It's a different measuring scale. So that's our current peak hour traffic operations that are shown here. Then we've looked at the WITH project, the WITH build out of the plan, the build out of the land use plan, the build out of the circulation modifications that are coming with it. They're mentioned on the left there. The highlight there is the modification of the 5 points intersection, as Phil mentioned. A key modification here is to eliminate the southwest movement of San Antonio Drive at the intersection. What this does, even with an increase in volume from land use, what this does is actually could improve the intersection because it removes one signal phase from the intersection, thus reducing the delay of all other vehicles through the intersection. So based on our projections, we're showing that this intersection could actually be improved from LOS F to an LOS D with that modification. And then, as mentioned, there's other modifications of reducing lanes to accommodate bike lanes and pedestrian flow. So that will all be part of the traffic study forthcoming, and here to answer any questions if you have any. And that concludes our presentation.
Thank you for that report. Colleagues, do we have questions?
Sure, I do.
Yes, Mr. Ramirez, Councilmember Ramirez, please.
Thank you. Great presentation, guys. I commend staff and the consultants. It's remarkable. I know we have to have a footprint and a vision, right? Just like our general plan. To me, it's like Sim City. We're building something that is far out in the future, and we don't know what the future holds. And there's a lot of unknown factors. There's economics. There's population. There's acquiring properties. I mean, I love the vision. I love the concept, but I want to be realistic on things that we can do today in the near future. I mean, I don't know how far this future forecast is predicted, how far out. I'm sorry?
2055.
Yeah. So that's way too long, right? Our residents want stuff now. They've been waiting, like 50 years for the one-way project renovation. We still have a tank farm that's still, God, I don't know what's going to happen with that. That's a major project. So I think overall, I'm going to be the bad guy. I don't care. It's the fact that I'm being realistic, with today's economy and what we're feeling here from our constituents and our residents on what they want. I like to see stuff that's tangible, stuff that we can tackle today. Like prime example, you guys talk about the proposed zoning, right? I mean, if that's part of the plan, let's work on zoning to make that happen in the future. Let's do that, now. Let's look to see where we could make this come to fruition way before, 2050. Yeah, 2055. That's my concern. I think we owe it to our community. They've waited so long for the Front Street project. They waited a long time for the development here on City Hall lawn with some controversy, but I think we have to move forward. We have to overlook a lot of that, and we have to look to the future. And I think the council made wise decisions to develop here on City Hall lawn. But there's a lot of things that I don't think 2055 is a long way to wait. But I think collectively this body could do something today. Can look at with working with staff and all our efforts to look at. I think the tangible thing is the proposed zoning, right, for all these projects. Let's work on making that happen so that we can force the hand of those property owners, those investors, those developers to come to Norwalk, because we've already taken that step to propose that zoning. That was my 2 cents.
Thank you. Councilmember Perez.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I want to say first thank you to the entire team. Ken Cosmont was here in 2018. You came in and partnered with the city, created an economic development plan. Within that economic development plan, it included the Heart of Norwalk. We were very blessed to be able to partner with the Arroyo Group, and you have been with this plan from start to where we are today. It's not often that we at this dais see people retained from the start to completion and continuing of a project. During COVID, I remember being Zoom meetings with our community with you and trying to listen and hear, and people trying to wonder who is this guy and what is he doing for the city of Norwalk. So thank you first off for that start to finish. I like to see the commitment from those that we partner with. I understand where Councilmember Ramirez is coming from. The one thing that I do want to make sure that our residents and our community understand is a lot of this property and this area that was talked about in the Heart of Norwalk district and plan is not owned by the city. And that is one of our key challenges that we are having, is because the city does not own the property. The main thing that we can do is the rezoning. And we can encourage them to go in a direction of the plan that we have. And what I would like to ask of our staff, of our team, after this great presentation that we've had today, I do know that there are some areas in this plan that we have made movement on. And we have had discussions with the property owners on to then develop those particular properties. So while all of this is here in the plan, I think what would be helpful, at least for council, is to see within this plan, which areas are we already starting to work at specifically, not generalizations, but here for us, for council. So that way we can actually see that the movement is happening. Do I love to see 2055 on a PowerPoint presentation and want to say, hey, I'm going to be here in 2055? We don't know, right? But that's what a plan is to prepare for the future, like Councilmember Ramirez noted. What happened, what has happened here, perfect example is Bloomfield Imperial, the fitness village. We cut the ribbon and opened a lot of those businesses in 2018, but those were all approved in 2000, in 1999. So it takes time. Do we want to wait till 2055? Absolutely not. So to continue on to Councilmember Ramirez's point, please bring us the areas that we know we are starting to talk about, to work on, to build relationships with those property owners, again, that the city does not own the land on. So that takes some extra efforts in order to get those conversations moved, to bring them on board. I would love to redevelop Town Square. Would love to. We have conversations with the developer and the property owner every single year. It's not our property. It's theirs. And they have to invest the money in it. They have to want to do it. So as much as we can encourage them, it has to come from the property owner. So I, again, appreciate all you guys are doing. what's on paper, what we look at today, we know is going to change 3 times over in the next year or the next 2 years. But it's a start.
Yes.
And that's the first place we have to be at. So I appreciate that and look forward to what our team can bring to us to say, here's the plan. Here's some of the specific areas that we are already starting to target and have some movement on. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember.
You know, I want to echo my colleagues' comments. Great presentation. I also look forward to having the Heart of Norwalk built and really up and running. But as with my colleagues, my concern is that we don't own all of those places. But my hope is that we are able to talk to some of those owners, and that they do come along with our plan, with our vision, and hopefully we will be able to put a really great project together, because I think that collaboratively we can make it a beautiful area. And Norwalk is just we're booming. There's a lot of projects coming down the pike, and it's all for our residents. It's all for us. And yes, 2055, but I think slowly but surely we're going to see more progress towards that. And hopefully everybody will come along, and so that it will be a collaborative effort and it'll be a win-win situation. Thank you.
Vice Mayor Ayala, did you have anything before I continue?
No, I understand, the timelines are daunting, but, I see this as an intermediate step that was begun a while back, because having this on paper and just having some kind of vision, Norwalk, what this is going to look like and what it should look like and whatnot. I mean, a few years ago, this wouldn't have, you couldn't even conceive that these things are possible. And it is a slow process because there's a lot of people involved. There's a lot of moving parts. I want this stuff built tomorrow too. But I take satisfaction that, those of us in 17 that got elected, we followed this through. And this was pie in the sky kind of stuff. And now we actually have something to look at, something to talk about, something to talk about the residents about. And, it's one of those things that it's been through the history of the city. I mean, it takes time to get these things built, but every journey starts with the first step. But I consider this an intermediate step, because like I said, as you guys know, a few years ago, this just didn't exist. Not even the concept existed. So I congratulate the staff and Ken and those guys, because they worked with us, through the whole process. And yeah, I'm just really proud of it myself. But that's all, man.
Thank you. I do want to point out that the council members here, us up here, the leadership, we have less than 6 years on this dice. And I'm very proud of what we have been able to accomplish, because we have done significantly a great deal. If you really think about it, in the shortened amount of time that we've been providing our services to the community of Norwalk, in collaboration with our team, and being visionary and being forward thinking, I think we've done very well on doing that and showing that we do have a vision for the city of Norwalk. I don't dream big, I dream bigger. And so when I look at that plan, I'm like, I like it. I like it a lot. What I don't have though is 13 years or 50 years.
Yeah.
In 50 years, that plan will be obsolete. In 13 years, who knows? A lot happens. And I have a sense of urgency while I'm here serving the community, because we don't have time. We need to really be forward thinking. We need to not just have a vision for the city, but we actually need to come to an agreement on what is our plan, what actions do we need to take, how soon can we make it happen, who do we need, and then let's do it. So if we were able to do all of those things, I think it would be great. I mean, transformational. But I think we can be transformational if we just agree to hone in on something that, as was mentioned here, is tangible, is doable sooner rather than later. So although we have a big plan for the heart of Norwalk, I really believe that if we talk about what is it that we can do sooner rather than later, what is our goal, what is our priority, and that way we as a council, the hardworking members of the city team, and our residents can see this come to fruition sooner. Because I don't have 10 years and I definitely don't have 50. I just don't. I'm serving up here. I have a sense of urgency. Let's go. Let's get things done. We got to move. And so I think that the partnership that we have, you have the information, you have the research, you've done the work that we need, that guidance, that, you serve in that advisory role. Okay, City of Norwalk, this is what you can do. I think we need to hear that. I think we need to come to a point, Jesus, where we can have a meeting, a special meeting. I don't know, we could, definitely continue this conversation, but if we really want to make some strides in this plan of the heart of Norwalk, we need to get started like today. And we need to decide what is our priority, what is viable in the near future that we can actually show off to our community so that they can enjoy, because it's really all about our current residents and our future residents, our families who have roots here, who are going to continue to lay down roots. And so I'm thinking of, everyone. Some of us may or may not be here, and then in 2006, I don't know, 55, but I know many of our family and friends are going to be here. Yeah. I know there's going to be a lot of people here in the city of Norwalk. So what legacy do we want to leave for them? What do we want to have for the future of the city of Norwalk? And that planning starts today, starts now. And we've been doing it. We've been talking about the heart of Norwalk. It's been presented to us a couple of times now. I love the way it looks. But I really think that if we need to go take that step past the presentation, past the idealism, and let's get to work. What is it that we can present to our community sooner rather than later? Because we don't have time.
Mayor Rios, I love your excitement. I really do. That was a great delivery.
Well, okay, what do you got for me?
In 9 months, you'll see a groundbreaking for the entertainment district. 9 months, not 55 years. 9 months, less than a year, will be your groundbreaking. The Front Street, we have permits to retrofit the Norwalk Records, to bring in tenants. Not 55 years. We can't wait 55 years. So it's coming. And when it comes, it's going to come fast. We have 60 units that are being built on Foster in San Antonio. That is being built. We're not waiting 55 years. I'm proud to say that you guys have made some bold decisions that we are implementing and we will continue to implement. You will have veteran housing at the end of this year. Not many communities can say that. Yeah. So while you see the presentation, this is San Antonio. We're not waiting for this plan to be adopted. We are doing things that we can right now. You will have projects now. So this is an entire vision for the city, but we're not waiting. So I love your delivery. We're going to deliver back.
Okay, that's what I want to hear. And that's why I said that we have gained very significant strides in the development of our community and our infrastructure and all the improvements that we've done. That's without a doubt. We are on the right track. But as I said, dream bigger. And if we could, with all of that you just mentioned, the Front Street, San Antonio, if there's something that we can, in looking at this plan, adopt for the next step, because we're on a momentum here. So being that we're on this momentum, we're on this road together, I think it's wise to see, ahead. What can we, from the Heart of Norwalk plan, adopt, again, for it to happen sooner than later? But yes, obviously in line with what we're doing. And I think that point you mentioned, Jesus, is very important, because I'm going to be looking at our current developers, such as Prime Store, to buy in on our vision.
Yes.
So they also have to deliver as a community, benefit, for example. So it's just things I'm throwing out there so that we, I'm putting it out into the universe. Okay. So
I want to peg them. Not the universe.
Huh?
I want to peg developers. I want to peg people. I want to select them and make it happen. So with that in mind, if you notice, our economic development plan and our Heart of Norwalk align with each other. And so the efforts are very specific, very intentional, and we will, as when we go to ICSC, the International Shopping Center Conference, we can specifically talk about our plan. We can talk about not only the economic development plan, but also the Heart of Norwalk, but also what's happening now that has been approved. We can actually say we are going to have a groundbreaking here in November for our entertainment district. That is a long shot from where we were 5 years ago, right? So now it's now happening today.
Yeah. And my ask again would be that we really look at the Heart of Norwalk plan and select an area from, whether it be the San Antonio, the 5 Points, again, in conjunction with Front Street, the railway. I'm sure that we can get something more done, that we can actually, if we focus on one particular area, because a lot, it can be overwhelming for some, but I think if we can agree on where do we want to put our time and energy and efforts and money and resources and partnerships, et cetera, that we can pick something. That's what I would like to do, Jesus. I would like to, from this Heart of Norwalk plan that was presented, which was beautiful, that we select an area of revitalization that we can bring to the city soon. Or it be next in line for our plans at modernization and infrastructure improvements, housing, everything that you said is everything that we need. So that's what I would like to do, Jesus.
So I would invite you to focus on Front Street, because that is ready.
Yes.
That is ready. So if we can focus on Front Street, that's the catalyst for all of what he said, because we're already there. We have the developer, we have the willingness, that we have the buy-in. So we're there. So focusing on Front Street will be the catalyst for many of what the plan that was presented will happen with that one major catalyst. It's a major catalyst, that Front Street.
You got to remember, Jesus, you got 3 women up here. We multi-focus and we multitask. Okay? What?
Well, and can I just add? I think Margarita,
Rick does it too.
You're going on a line that I think is key, and I think it's already happened, and we might not have realized it. This coming summer, 2024, will be the 3rd year now that we will be having Front Street Friday nights. And our residents come out for Front Street Friday nights. So the catalyst has begun, and I think we've seen the interest in that particular area. So Jesus, to say to pinpoint that area of Front Street, we're there. Like, we're continuing it. And a lot of what is going to happen between now and the summer of 2024 on Front Street, we're going to have some more information to share and good news with what's already been approved and what's to come. So I think that's a great point, Margarita. And it did start in 2017 and 2018 to get us here. And gosh, if somebody comes up to me someday and says that we haven't done anything in the past 5 or 6 years, I'm going to tell them they're blowing smoke, because there's a lot happening. And I am so proud to say that we have done things, and you will see those things happen. Just wait.
Well, I'm not worried because I figure Jesus will be the city manager in 50 years anyway, so.
He's going to be the only one around in 2055.
You can finish it off for us.
And Jesus, I'm glad that you mentioned Mercy Housing, because at the recent Meet the Mayor event, I asked our news colleague from the Norwalk Patriot, I said, listen, Vincent, I said, we are doing Mercy Housing here in the community, specific to address some of the housing insecurities specific for our veterans. I said, help us promote that. So he did write an article. Thank you, Norwalk Patriot, for actually adding my quote and mentioning in there that we are very unique in the. Don't laugh, Tony. We are very unique.
I like the red outfit too. That was very nice.
We are very unique as a community in the region because no other community is offering this type of housing. So yes.
Madam Mayor, may I comment real quick?
Yes.
On the Mercy Housing issue, if we could contact them, because I'm getting a lot of inquiries by veterans that have been trying to reach them to see how they can get into there, but they've been getting the runaround. There's no direct person they talk to that give them the right information. So if we can maybe put some resources out for our veterans on who they need to call.
Right.
Directly.
Yeah, Councilman Ramirez, we can take an interest list, but they're not prepared to take in any information until they know sort of their very specific opening date. And then they work backwards to be able to get veterans document ready for that. But they'll announce a start date for that.
Yes, because I think a lot of veterans are jumping the gun because they want to get in right, and they want to be sure that they're in the front of the line. So, but they're getting a lot of bad numbers and no one to talk to. So I think we do our part.
What we could do is we can get an interest list.
Okay.
On the city side.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Oh, Jesus, just on that
Yes.
note, sorry. If we do have, they have a website and there is an email for inquiries, so we can provide that to council, or if you wanted to forward us the information, we can reach out to those folks. Absolutely. Sure. Yeah, we'll do that. Thank you.
Thank you so much for allowing the council to give you feedback and share our sentiments on this great plan and vision for Norwalk and for all the work that you guys have done. And I look forward to partnering with you as we continue to move our great community forward in the right direction. Thank you so much.
Thank you as well. Thank you for your kind comments, for your enthusiasm, and certainly it is our responsibility to come back to you with a full specific plan, which is implementation focused to have these things happen. Thanks.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, item number 11 is resolution number 24-10, fiscal year 23-24 mid-year budget. Staff, who will present?
Yes, Mayor Rios and members of the City Council, we have tonight a mid-year budget presentation for you. We listen throughout the year to see what adjustments we need to make at mid-year, but it also is in preparation for next year as well. Tonight, we'd like to present to you the adjustments that we'd like to make for this current fiscal year. that goes out to June 30th, 2024. So with that, Ms. Yana Stewart will present.
Thank you, Mr. Gomez. Mayor Rios, members of the City Council, it's my pleasure to walk us through the evaluation of our results for the first 6 months of the fiscal year ending June 2024. Yeah, but before we can do so, it's important for us to also address how we finished the prior fiscal year when we compare it to where we thought we will be when we were preparing fiscal year 2024 budget. And then also during my presentation, we will be discussing requested revisions to general fund budget, special revenue funds, and enterprise funds. We will be also addressing a few fiscal issues that we will or challenges, better said, that we'll be facing when we will be preparing the upcoming fiscal year budget. So I'm very happy to report that prior fiscal year results came in more favorably than what we budgeted. Our revenues came in over our projections by 9% or $6.1 million, primarily due to the items that you see on the screen. Property taxes, $600,000 over our estimates, other taxes and franchise fees, about $1 million. Departmental revenues, actually $2 million. And towards the end of the fiscal year, we received the settlement from the case of City of Long Beach versus Monsanto's and energy rebates that totaled close to $2.6 million. And those were the revenues that we were not really expecting. And on the expenditure side, we also did not reach our budgeted amounts, and we were on the budget in 11% or $7.6 million. Primarily savings from the personnel, $4.5 million. So when we were preparing fiscal year 2025 budget in June, we were estimating that we will start fiscal year at about $25 million fund balance. And due to revenues that we received in June, the one-time revenues I just highlighted, settlement and energy rebates, we ended up at $28 million. On this slide, this is just the recap of presentation from June 2023. This is how we adopted fiscal year 2024 budget. And since July, there were a few budget resolutions that affected general fund to increase the expenditures to close by $272,000. So in the evaluation of all the results, revenues, expenditures, my colleagues and staff analyzed major revenues and also the departmental revenues. And we are happy to report that we are proposing the adjustment upwards on the revenues for the general fund to the amount of close to $2.1 million. And on this spreadsheet, you can see our table, you can see the detail. And general revenues, primarily taxes, such as property taxes or revenues derived from property values, are adjusted upwards to close to $1 million. And other important adjustments are utility user tax, and I'll discuss those a little bit later because those are like bread and butter of our revenue resources in general fund. Thank you. So, as I mentioned, I'm happy to report that property value derived revenues keep on growing steadily from fiscal year to fiscal year, and it has several. As you can see, there are several categories that that fall under the property revenue taxes. primarily property tax in lieu of VLF is performing much better than what we anticipated, and this is a number that we can go by for sure because we get 2 remittances a year that are of equal amount, and so adjustment is closer of more than $638,000 for this upcoming fiscal year. So that's a good. We are doing pretty good in this sector. However, our sales taxes are reflection to the local economy. You know, Los Angeles County, our region, but also state of California. We hear from HDL, this is a trend statewide, and we cannot be anticipating very sharp increases in this revenue category. The last 3 columns that you can see on this pie chart are estimated revenues for the upcoming 3 fiscal years, and you can see they're pretty much flattening down. And we are proposing negative adjustment to sales tax that is our regular sales tax 1%, which is also known as Bradley Burns portion of our sales tax, and that's negative adjustment. Thankfully, we have Measure P, which is our local revenue, and that is allocated a little bit differently. What is generated in City of Norwalk doesn't have to be spread or allocated through the pool, such as internet purchases and so forth. So that belongs to the city. So as you can see, that revenue source, since it has been adopted and we were receiving it in 2021, it has been performing very steadily. And I can even imagine what type of conversation we would have if we did not have Measure P. So thank you for that. The other very important revenue source, our utility user taxes, and this is our 3rd largest revenue source, and we are adjusting this category upwards close to $390,000 to the level almost to $6 million. But on one side, we are adjusting revenues because primarily, as you can see, electric utility and gas utility are growing steadily. However, our cost of doing business is also going up. So, expenditures and revenues are adjusted both ways. So this is where the energy sustainability and saving of resources and energy makes sense for us in investing into those type of projects. On the expenditure side to the general fund, this is just a very easy way of trying to portray how where's the current budget now. Our operating expenses are at $72 million. We are proposing or requesting to increase them by $1.1 million, and the majority of it is really under operations and maintenance. And also, we are proposing to continue replenishing our reserves and primarily our street renovation fund by the amount of $3 million. So overall, all combined budget revisions, increase in appropriations total close to $4.2 million. I'm going to discuss different categories separately. So staff is asking for minor changes to personnel. They are prorated to pretty much to the rest of the fiscal year to 3 months really, unless there's a request for additional part-time hours. Those are pretty much the full amount, right, for that cost of part-time hours. So the impact to general fund is about $108,000 for fiscal year 2024 under general fund, and to other funds is about $89,000. All the requested changes have been summarized to the exhibit C to the resolution that it pretty much summarizes all the revisions. But I will just highlight a few that make a major change. Community information is just change of title for vacant position. That has no fiscal impact. Social services based on the study for homelessness and recommendations from the plan. We do want to request social service worker 3 new positions and delete 1 position from social services. The 3 new positions are social service worker 2, office assistant 2, management analyst, also deleting a vacant position of social services supervisor, and also we are proposing to add part-time hours, 2,080 hours total. Recreation is also requesting adjustment of their part-time hours. That's their main request, totaling 3,170 part-time hours for the rest of the events and summer programming. And I also, this is not on the slide, but it is included in resolution 24-12, which is the salary adjustment or salary schedule portion of the recommendation. That includes adjustment to salaries for our workers like senior lifeguards, lifeguard instructor guards, and lifeguards. And we are doing this without any fiscal impact because majority of the hiring and working hours will be next fiscal year. But it will prepare us to be more competitive in hiring that will begin shortly. So as to increases, including the personnel costs that I just highlighted for general fund, this slide demonstrates allocation, additional appropriations per function, and it is a combination of primarily requests for additional purchases or contract engagements, or primarily software and contractual services. Just as an example, community information is adding $93,000 to secure the programming for the 2 major events. MIS has the cost shifted from Wi-Fi for the city parks Wi-Fi citywide from this monthly subscriptions, and also we are proposing purchases of some additional software to help us with cybersecurity and fraudulent type of activities and catching the bad guys before they penetrate the network. With all of that, all the details of all the line items are summarized in Exhibit B of the resolution. And if everything is approved as is requested, this slide summarizes how do we anticipate ending fiscal year 2024 if all the numbers come through as budgeted. So as you can see, on the bottom part where the arrow is, we are anticipating ending fiscal year with the ending fund balance of $15.2 million, which is within our fund balance policy. Actually, it's 1% over, or $580,000 over. So if there are any other instances that we need to increase our appropriation for some planning, other major changes before the end of June, we still have a cushion and being still within our fund balance policy. As you can see, and I already mentioned that we are proposing to replenish our capital reserve funds. City Council has been diligent about putting money aside for all the major capital improvements, such for designated for parks, streets, buildings, technology. There's a list, as you can see. audited fund balance at the end of fiscal year 2023 is about 30.5 million, and we are proposing to replenish additional 3 million from general fund, and there's a contribution from Costco, $70,000 that will be deposited into our street and traffic improvement fund to help with the portion of the project that Costco also requested, and that's an ITS Imperial Highway project that will synchronize all the, I guess, lights on the corridor of Imperial Highway. I want to highlight also that even though on the list, as you can see, additional appropriation for fiscal year 2024 it adds up to $7.3 million. Majority of it is allocated to streets. However, this is just as a placeholder, because we will be looking into special revenue funding and grant funding in order to safeguard our dollars in street renovation fund for our local streets. So, but staff needed to go out there for the RFPs and secure funding right now, but this will be the last resort to spend. Additionally, which is I would like to highlight that we also continue with the project of Cicerco that we are asking for additional funding of $1.6 million to secure lighting in 4 parks, and it is sports lighting. And I believe it's Zimmerman, Holyfield, Ramona, and I forget which one. Lakeside, yes. So that would cover the entire cost. We already had $1.9 million in the budget, and this is additional cost, and that project can start moving forward. We secured the funding. On this slide, we continue with just highlight like very high level highlights of any changes on the capital projects in other special revenue funds. Want to just highlight that we are shifting money around under ARPA. As you may recall, we received $28 million from federal funding to help us with the aftermath of and effects of COVID. And we have certain deadline by which we need to spend this funding. So therefore, we are moving money from Tank Farm project to Cicerco project, energy saving project, to help us use and leverage that funding better, and hopefully, for sure, to spend it in a timely manner. Also, $17.7 million from Measure W, and that's a grant that will help us with Hermosillo Park, a stormwater capture filtration project. So a lot of things are happening in addition to what we already saw. It's a lot moving places, pieces, and it's exciting to see. This slide just summarizes all the changes on the special revenue funds, adjustment to changing funding levels. Primarily, there's no city general fund addition to this, and so we are getting more funding for child care, elderly nutrition program, community improvement grants, and there are requests for additional funding from Prop C and Measure R and Measure M. This moves us to enterprise funds. That's very straightforward. This is our transit department adjusting revenues upwards, but also adjusting expenditures, still operating within the operating surplus, and using the reserves for capital improvement projects that are listed. Water fund, the same thing. We are using all the means to use any funding possible to help us with the collection of outstanding water bills, so using state programs. So we're trying to go ahead and be more active about it. So the revenues are also improving upwards, and staff is estimating that they will outperform our original expectation by $730,000. But also there are revisions to operations, and primarily that's water purchase. More than $400,000 of this amount is water purchase. And our sewer fund is doing well. We are not changing any estimates for our revenues, however, increasing slightly our expenditures. So that pretty much concludes all the revisions that have been detailed in all the attachments to the resolution 24-10 from revenues to all the way to the expenditures. And now we're going to touch on a little bit about the challenges that we are anticipating in preparation for next fiscal year. Overall economies, of course, we all hear on the news bad news from Europe, Ukraine, and Russia conflict, and Middle East, but also changes in our political scene and outcome of elections can have different impacts on our economy as a whole. Of course, in state of California, also we have elections, but in addition, state already is trying to figure out how to deal with the $68 billion budgetary deficit. And even though they are not admitting that their deficit is so high, this is based on the Legislative Analyst's Office number. We also all know, and we can feel it in our pockets, inflation, rising cost of doing business. And as you can see, we are susceptible to all the changes in economy, and sales tax may vary based on that. So that's the most kind of fragile type of revenue. In addition, we already discussed this in prior fiscal year, that CalPERS had negative returns, and this is you can see how it changes from year to year, can go up and down. But whenever there is a return on investment that are not reaching the expectation, that type of loss is then later on in 2 years transferred to the local agencies that are member agencies of CalPERS, and our required contributions are adjusted and are rising. So here is just for your information how fast your funding levels can change just because of the changes in investment. You can go from 79.5% funding level all the way to 71.6% from one year to the other. And also our contribution based on the estimate of payroll, most likely next fiscal year will be more than $7 million. But on the other side, we are preparing also for that. We do have a pension stabilization fund, and that's what it is for. If there are some hardship, we can always use that to help us balance our budget. So with that, this leads us to already preparing for the upcoming fiscal year. We actually already started. Last week, staff distributed to all the departments all the worksheet for the budget. And in front of you, this is the tentative timeline where what we are working towards to. Hopefully on May 28th, we will have our first City Council study session. Prior to that, on May 13th, hopefully we will be able to present the balanced budget to the City Finance Ad Hoc Committee. And no later than the end of June, we would like to adopt the budget for the upcoming fiscal year. And that really concludes my report. And if there are no questions or suggestions to changes, the staff would recommend that City Council adopts resolution number 24-10, and that's all the fiscal year 23-24 budget and the revisions that as they have been highlighted and detailed in exhibits A through H. And also adopt resolution number 24-12, amending the fiscal year 23-24 salary schedule. And I and my colleagues are here to answer any questions council may have. Thank you.
Council, questions?
I'll start. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Yana, for always providing the details. May I suggest the bad news first and end on a high note with the better slides next time? I'm just saying. I will say though, I did, when we were in Sacramento in January, we did have 2 meetings with Treasurer Fiona Ma. The funny thing is she is saying that there is a deficit, but the elected officials are saying, nah, it's not that bad. When the treasurer tells me that there's a deficit, then I'm going to believe her. So as much as they may want to change the numbers a little, I would just ask our team here in Norwalk when we go into budget season, which you are now in, and now starting, we may need to be a little bit more conservative, because typically what happens is when the state has a deficit, we get hit a few years later. Fiona Ma did ask, Treasurer Ma asked us as a local elected officials, how are we doing in our cities? And we all said, we are doing very strong and we're very healthy. And she came back and said, hang on to that as much as you can. So when the treasurer of the state of California says be conservative, I think that's definitely something that we need to look at. I know that we do have our fund balance policy, and I'm very happy to see that we do have a little bit of cushion, 580,000, I think you said, between now and June. Again, please be conservative. If there are things that absolutely need to be added between now and then, let's ask that question. Is it absolutely necessary, or can it wait until July? Because I think we have to look that way. We have to be concerned. We have to be concerned on how our residents are being approached about their utility bills and how the utility bill payments are going to change because of the way that the state is changing that infrastructure. So how that falls into our residents, we have to take that into light here. Again, thank you for putting this together. Thank you for being so mindful with our funding and our resources here in the city. We are very blessed to have you. And I would love to see you here with us in 2055 to see the benefits of all of the funding that is going to come. I know Yana is going to outlive us all, let me tell you. But I will just say thank you for being diligent. And really, I'm just going to put that out there. We're going to have to start looking a little more conservatively as we look into the next budget.
And I think that was till you're 55.
I think that's a very good point that Councilmember Perez mentions. I know that obviously we have a budget that we need in order to operate with, but just 2 things. I guess first, I want us to be really conservative when we talk about or plan for our vehicle fleet replacement. I know that, industry standard says one thing, but considering potential budget constraints, I really would ask that the team be mindful to do what we have to do to maintain our vehicles in tip-top shape so that we don't cycle a vehicle out just because it's been 5 years and the vehicle only has 60,000 miles. Or even less than that. It's just, again, industry standard says one thing, but we are the ones that are faced with the reality of having to budget for these type of issues is our fleet rotation and fleet replacement is something I think that I really would like us to look at a little bit more instead of being quick to just replace a vehicle, because of, industry standards again say that we should, doesn't necessarily mean that we need to. And then the second piece is when we talk about our Measure P, and I know, Yana, you mentioned that every department got sheets for their budget proposals or requests. And I guess this question is for Ozzy. What do we currently have in place for video monitoring and surveillance at our commercial retail spaces? Do we have anything?
Not at this time. We do have a mobile camera unit that we deploy, but we rely on the business sector to have cameras there as part of their security plan.
Yeah. So just something to think about, just because these, Measure P is, taxpayer funded. And I know that we're always looking at how we can address the safety needs of our commercial and retail spaces, because if they're safe, then our shoppers feel safe. And I've seen these type of video and surveillance tools out at other cities, in their commercial spaces. They're tall, they're solar panel. They have cameras attached to them. They're mobile, and some of them even have a voice recording alerting those in the area that the area is being monitored and recorded, or So I would ask Ozzy, in your spare time, right? That maybe we can look at something, potentially deploying something like that as a pilot, or using again our Measure P funding when you're looking at what type of items you request in your go around for looking at the budget and what you need for your department. That may be something that under for consideration.
Yes, ma'am. We actually have 2 of those particular trailers now that we're deploying, and that is happening in conjunction with our net team meetings that we have on a weekly basis. And they're strategically being deployed by our officers in the morning. We are getting some positive feedback. I know we had a situation over at Bloomfield and Imperial where there was allegations of or reports of illegal dumping. And so that was very positive, very good feedback from the community and some of the businesses.
So we do have something like that.
Yes, we're
Okay.
deploying it now. It's happening
I
right now.
thought we had seen it, but I didn't know what its capabilities were, what it actually, so we are using that.
Yes, we are using that technology.
I know we had used it, I think recently at one of our neighborhood schools.
Yes.
So that's the same, we can deploy the same at our commercial retail.
Yes.
It works okay.
Yes. And it's monitored by
Mayor,
our
if
public
I-
safety and
If
desk.
I can interject, there's one right outside my house.
Why is
So
there
I
one
waved
outside
to
your
it.
house?
It's because it's by Imperial and Studebaker.
She had a dog problem.
So they were,
Oh,
now
geez.
there's the homeless problems and some other issues that they're taking care of. So every time I walk my dogs, I wave over to the camera.
I know the little storage business right across from Norwalk Car Wash has one in their parking lot. So I don't know if that's ours or if it's theirs. It's kind of
Do you
hidden
know,
in the
Ozzy,
corner.
where?
The storage unit place across from the Norwalk Car Wash on Firestone.
Oh.
There's one deployed there. I'm not sure if it's ours or.
Yeah, we have 2 deployed throughout the city, and they're done based on need. We do work with different businesses, to your point, but we are moving that strategically based on the Part 1 crimes that are reported in our city.
Okay, great. You're ahead of the game. Thank you so much. Any other questions?
I'll move it.
Second? Roll call, please.
Councilmembers Perez.
Aye.
Ramirez. Valencia.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Ayala.
Aye.
Mayor Rios.
Aye. Thank you, Yana, and your team. We're now moving on with oral communications. I do have a few cards up here. Before we begin, I just want to remind our speakers that you have 3 minutes to speak. Comments should be directed at the mayor and council members. And there's dialogue is prohibited, so we don't entertain a discussion. However, if there's a follow-up or question that you have, we will refer you to our city staff for follow-up. Jesse Flores.
Hi, everyone. I guess the first thing that I didn't write down, but that I noticed, the front door to get in here was closed. It was a little difficult to have open. So I think some of us had trouble getting in. So yeah, check that out when you can. But yeah, I'm here as a member of community organization Norwalk Unidas, and I'm here to follow up on the rent stabilization discussion that had initially been planned for November 18th of last year, but that ended up being canceled and has yet to be rescheduled. And so I'm here to urge you to reschedule this discussion as soon as you can. Young families, seniors, and other vulnerable populations are in great need of protections from these traumatic rent increases, which make it difficult for them to stay and live here as Norwalk residents. And all you have to do is look at the data to see that there has been shifts in the population in Norwalk, potentially some of those people being priced out. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, the population of Norwalk in 2010 was approximately 105,000 people. And then while the most recent population estimate in July of 2023 was approximately 98,000 residents. And so that's a loss of around 7,000 residents in the span of a little over 10 years. And so that's a loss of taxpayers, a loss of families who could have stayed here, a loss of just people who would have loved to stay and be longtime residents. And during that same 10-year span, median home price increased from $258,000 to around over $600,000. And so these high housing prices make it difficult for many of us to be homeowners, and so many of us are renters. And it's not just data that shows how urgent rent control is, but also the personal stories that many of us have as renters in Norwalk. Many of us who don't really share these stories because we fear retaliation from our landlords. And just this past month, I had a close friend of mine move out of Norwalk because rent increases at her apartment were just too high. She grew up here, was really involved in a community, and wanted to stay, but she couldn't. It's because her landlord's rent increases just grew out of hand. And so no wonder our population in Norwalk has decreased. No wonder seniors have vocalized their concerns with their fixed incomes. No wonder why my friend had to move away. I want to stop wondering what will help keep people housed, because research has showed that rent control is part of the answer to addressing that. So thanks.
Next speaker, Rodolfo Cortez.
Hello, good evening, Mayor. So I also wanted to follow up with the previous speaker. My name is Rodolfo Cortez. I'm also a member of Norwalk Unidas. So, we're a community group that is always growing and always very excited. We're pushing for positive things in the community, environmental justice, not to mention housing rights here. So, I think it's really important. I think maybe a lot of the time we forget that rent control, yes, it has a lot of benefits that Jesse just talked about, and you can also think about, the most prosperous cities in LA County. What do they have? They have rent control, right? You can go on over to Beverly Hills, has rent control. Santa Monica, rent control. West Hollywood, rent control. So when you have rent control, what you have is community stability and the ability for a lot of certainly young people, enterprising people to actually join the community, and for the young people that grow up in the community to be able to stay in the community, and they're going to college, they're making a real investment in the community that you can then benefit from, right? So we're talking about the budget. Well, imagine if people weren't spending a half of their income on housing, on rent. Well, they could go to the nice restaurants that you're wanting to build. They could set up their own business, a restaurant or a small store of many different kinds. But we have seen repeatedly for decades that the rent prices have been going up all around the country, but certainly here in Norwalk and Southeast LA more broadly, more so than other prices, right? The foods, the groceries, the gas has gone up, but not as much as the rent, and the rent was going up even before the pandemic. So you have to think broadly. I know you're very interested. You said that you want to be talking about what's it going to be in 15 years, and of course in 50, we want to leave behind a better city than we found it. Jesse cited some statistics. I have a family member who had to leave Norwalk precisely because of this issue, and that could have been a very positive contribution that that family member could have made here to Norwalk, but the rent is just too high. Rent control doesn't mean no rent. It just means a more reasonable increase that families can cope with, so that families can contribute in a positive way to the community like they have for many decades. But we're increasingly seeing a lot of the young people that grew up here can no longer afford it. So that is not a good situation for our city long term. So it is important to bring back this discussion about rent control. It's very important for the community, and we'll be very grateful for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Gemma Rodriguez.
Good evening, Mayor Rios, Vice Mayor Ayala, council members, city staff, and community. I'm Gemma Rodriguez. As many of you know, I'm also part of Norwalk Unides, and I'm here to inquire about the postponed rent stabilization discussion that was proposed from the special meeting former Mayor Valencia called back in November 18th, which I would like to know a synopsis was not made available for the first part of the meeting that was carried out in regards to the homeless plan. Myself, as well as residents on fixed income, single income households, families, and those living at beneath or the poverty level, urge you all for a follow-up date on the pending discussion. I understand Councilmember Valencia no longer serves as mayor, but this should not be a reason for the discussion not to be had. We as a community are still dealing with housing insecurity. Health and wellness has been a recurring theme throughout tonight's meeting. Health and wellness is best supported by making strides towards affordable and secure housing. Affordable and secure housing promotes health and wellness by limiting stressors related to financial burdens. Rent stabilization and the need for it needs to be addressed. The constituents you serve, the ones that put you all in these positions of service and influence, are eagerly awaiting the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Irma Ramos.
Please press the arrow. Good evening, Madam Mayor and City Council members. My name is Irma Ramos, and I'm a longtime Norwalk resident. I was initially planning on attending this meeting online and making a comment through Zoom. I'm incredibly disappointed that the City Council is no longer allowing participants to watch these meetings and comment online. I believe that excluding the public from participating online is a direct attack on public civic participation and a disservice to every resident in the City of Norwalk. A resident without a car living 1.8 miles away by Norwalk High School would have to take a bus and make a minimum 15-minute walk to attend this meeting in the dark and in the rain. This feels like we're trying to silence the lower income residents of Norwalk, and I urge you to remedy this injustice. With that said, I came here to speak about how housing insecurity has not been addressed by this council. I made a public comment at a meeting here months ago about my family situation and how illnesses can cost the family. I will not repeat that comment now because it seems to have fallen on deaf ears. No one is safe from illnesses, be it cancer, heart disease, accidents. The problems and stresses of illnesses hurt not just individuals' healths, but also threatens their jobs, their families, and scarily their homes. Imagine having to choose between cancer medications and your mortgage. Imagine having to choose half a bottle of pills or having a roof to shield you from the rain. Unaffordable housing and greedy landlords are hurting residents now. And unless you make a stand, the most vulnerable of us, they'll only suffer more. We will only suffer more. I ask you to make a difference and pass rent control now. Thank you.
Thank you. Sylvester Ani?
I did that right. Okay. Good evening, everybody. My name is Sylvester Andy Jr. I'm also here with Norwalk Unides, and I'm also here in support of rent control. As we heard from the previous speakers, we heard statistical data that shows and highlights the positives of investing in rent control, and then we also heard just the moral aspect of it. And I hope that everyone here on the board takes these comments as encouragement for the opportunity to do more. I just, like we were listening, we heard a lot of things are going to be happening in Norwalk, and when people come up to speak, it's to encourage and to give new ideas to make this a place where people can live and not have to be so rent burdened, so that they can actually like enjoy their life instead of just working just to keep a roof over their head, and not being able to really enjoy the life that they live. I can share like a personal story of something that I'm dealing with within ABC USD, which is not too far from here. With ABC USD, they're potentially talking about closing down schools. And a lot of the reasons because of that is because families are aging out and new families can't move in. So as Norwalk is planning all these amazing things for the future, the thing is I would hate for Norwalk to be in a position where new families can't even move in and start up because of the extreme prices of the cost of living. So I'm here also in support of rent control and some solutions that I would like the city council to look into just to address, whether it's housing insecurity, making sure that people can actually survive and live. Dr. King talked about a guaranteed income. It's Black History Month right now. Dr. King talked about a guaranteed income as one of the ways that we can directly affect and change and eradicate poverty. There's something that they're doing in the city of Compton. The supervisor Holly Mitchell is also doing a pilot in her city. That's one way to address being able to make people be able to spread their dollars a little bit more so that they can be okay. Another thing that we can look into is a housing first solution that was very successful in the state of Utah, and almost eradicated their homelessness issue, in the 10 years that they did that program. So that's something I would also like the council to look into as just ways that they can address this housing issue and really, be leaders in making sure that housing people is the top priority, when it comes to their citizens. Thank you.
City Clerk, are there any other cards? Okay. Just for the sake of public information, City Attorney, would you please share on the governor's actions on remote?
Yes. Thank you very much,
public
Madam Mayor,
hearing
members of the
meetings?
City Council. There was legislation that was adopted and went into effect January 1st of this year that prohibits City Council meetings or actually public participation from being conducted in a remote fashion. So that is the reason why members of the public cannot Zoom in from remote locations to provide their public testimony. The Brown Act, however, does allow for legislative body members, city council members to participate remotely, both under traditional Brown Act provisions of the government code, but also pursuant to SB 2449. And tonight, Councilmember Vice Mayor Ayala is participating remotely pursuant to the traditional sections of the Brown Act. So that's why, as the speaker alluded to, that while the disappointment is understandable, it really should not be directed at the city council. It really was the change that was made by the state legislature.
Okay, thank you, Arnold. Being nothing further, I'll go ahead and adjourn this. You're raising your hand. Why is you raising his hand? Do you have a card?
They don't
Okay. Yes, I know. Go ahead, sir. Come on up to the podium.
Good evening. My name is Brian Tyndall. I've spoken here before. Just a couple of housekeeping things. On the agendas that are posted on the website, is it possible to include the PowerPoint presentations? The Norwalk presentation that I missed just by a little bit. I guess there's a great plan and wonderful things that are coming to the city. On the agenda, it's just 2 PDF pages. It sounds great. I would love to see what you guys are doing. I'm very excited about it. Also, there are no pens to fill out speaker cards. If we chain them to a desk or however you'd like to deal with that. And then on the budget report, I did see in item B added. The public services tree section is $50,000 surplus. And I know that sustainability has been something that we keep talking about. And so maybe that $50,000 could be set aside instead of just being a surplus into the general fund for this year, and that we can use that to plant trees moving forward this year. Something that everyone always says, best time to plant trees is now, or is 30 years ago. The second best time is right now. So the sooner we can get that going, and if we have a little bit of surplus for that, I think that would be a great move. So thank you for your time.
Anyone else in the audience wishing to speak before we adjourn this meeting? Okay, thank you all very much. Be safe. We are adjourned.
Good night.